Hello, noble people. My name is the Noble, and with the reveal of Mega Victory Bell, I decided why not to talk about some of my favorite Mega Pokemon that I am excited to be able to use again in Pokemon ZA, but more specifically Pokemon Champions, because I actually want to try and go more into trying to do competitive Pokemon. I've always had a fascination with it when I watch Wolfie and watch other stuff, and I think the counterplay and how people play competitive Pokemon is interesting to me. And I want to try and use some of my favorite Mega Pokemon to kind of have like a niche kind of play style. So this might seem like kind of a random top 10 list, but I love all these Mega Pokemon, and this is purely for my own opinion, not for just pure stats. So obviously Pokemon like Mega Rayquaza aren't going to be on this list. First up is Mega Abomasnow, which is probably surprising to a lot of you because it's not the best. Abomasnow is kind of an awkward Pokemon. While it is a pretty solid mixed attacker with its special and physical attack both being 92, it's also only 92, and with it being the only line that has the grass ice typing, it is not the best defensively, being weak to a lot of common types with flying, bug, steel, and then obviously that insanely bad quad weakness to fire. Even with its decently high 90 HP, it's going to be getting disintegrated when it gets hit by any fire move, even if it's a weak one. However, Mega Abomasnow not only has a really good stats across the board, getting a very strong in terms of its both attacking stats and even defensive stats, but with the change to how Snow and Hail work in Generation 9, this means that that 105 defense that it has when it is Mega Evolved is pretty much always going to be like 150 something. Meaning that it can survive a lot of physical hits, and since a lot of bug type moves, a lot of steel type moves are considered physical, it can actually survive a decent amount. Now, this is only in my 10 slot, mainly because it can't output the same consistent output as some other Pokemon on this list, and while I am very excited to use this Pokemon, I still feel like it does have a lot of go to be really good. If they were to change how Mega Evolution works and actually be able to allow you to have an item, I could 100% see this being the case where I could Mega Evolve an Abomasnow with a Assault Vest on, and actually do insane damage, and maybe we'll get another ice type Mega Evolution to be able to pair with normal Abomasnow with its already normal Snow Warning ability, so we'll just have to wait and see. Next up is Mega Aggron, one of my personal favorite Pokemon of all time with me growing up with the Generation 3 remake games. I absolutely love Aggron, but it's definitely one of the Mega Pokemon that has a lot of stuff kind of going against it, but also a lot of stuff going for it, and it kind of has to do with the fact that base Aggron is kind of in the same awkward tier along with Abomasnow, where the base Pokemon isn't necessarily the best. Like Mega Abomasnow, its typing is what kind of holds it back, with it having two quad weaknesses to ground and fighting, two types that are actually very sought after in terms of just general move coverage. While you might not go up against necessarily a fighting type Pokemon, a lot of Pokemon are going to have either like a close combat, an earthquake, something. And while the defense stat of Aggron is insane, and it does have Sturdy as one of its abilities, so we could possibly survive an Oko, it's still kind of awkward with its special, because one Earth Power, a Focused Blast, heck, even like a couple well-placed like Hydro Pumps are just going to completely disintegrate this Pokemon. And while its attack stat is nothing to scoff at either, it just can't stay on the field that long with its meddling speed stat. Now, with the Mega Evolution, this does kind of solve one of the main issues because it actually loses its rock typing. When Mega Evolve, it is just a pure Steel type with the ability Filter, so now that quad weaknesses that it would have that are just normal weaknesses now don't do 2 times damage, they only do 1.5 times damage. It is now weak to Fire, but losing those 2 quad weaknesses is very handy. The only problem is this Mega does not really use the stat distribution that well, increasing the defense even more, and it was already at 180 before, and putting it to 230 might seem nice, but also when you put up a stat higher than a certain point, you get less and less value the higher it is. I explained this kind of in my previous video that I made while talking about my dream team, but when you have a defense stat so high, a lot of Pokemon aren't going to be able to break through that. Even if they have a decently high attack stat, I still have the defense stat and HP to be able to counteract whatever attacks they throw at me. But increasing that certain threshold is not good. I would rather have around an 120 defense stat than 180, because I could use those stat points that go into 180 for other types of stats. I think it probably should have split up its 230 into its special defense to actually be considered like an iron wall of a Pokemon. But that being said, the reason I want to use Mega Aggron is because I'm relying on others using other Mega Pokemon that usually use the attack stat. A lot of other Mega Pokemon that I'm going to be facing in Pokemon Champions use the attacking stat, meaning that I pretty much get to be a wall, and with a 140 attacking stat for Aggron, I can actually output consistent damage. So Pokemon that might have been a decent threat if I had had like a different Mega Pokemon might now just not be a problem, like a Mega Mawile, Mega Kangaskhan. Like, they're very strong Pokemon with their abilities and mega forms, but they probably won't be able to get through its defenses. That being said, I still will try to have to play around any special moves, because it will probably die to like one flamethrower just because its special defense is laughable. Next up, we have Mega Banette, and Mega Banette has an interesting story with me as liking it as a Pokemon, because I think it is probably my favorite designed Mega Pokemon, because I genuinely just think it should be a natural evolution to Banette normally. I've played some ROM hacks where they just allow you to have this as just like a new evolution of the Pokemon, because it's one of the Mega Pokemon that is a little weird, because the base form of the Pokemon, people just kind of forget and don't really care too much about, and that's a good reason, because it's not the best. Base form Banette literally has 115 attack and then nothing else really going for it. It's a mono ghost type, so it's going to resist your bug and poison, but that's it, with the immunity to fighting a normal, I guess. But like, there's nothing really going for it. Maybe Cursed Body could technically come in handy, but you would think the Mega Form would actually improve upon it. Maybe give it some decent bulk, some really good attack, and while it does improve the Pokemon, it does so in a really awkward way. Now, you may be looking at the stats and thinking, yeah, those defensives aren't the best, but a 165 attack stat is good, but I mainly mean awkward because it is only that and also 10 in special attack for some reason. They really didn't need to do that, but again, I feel like when they designed the Pokemon, they just kind of throw it into whatever stat distribution it could be, because if this was special attack or speed, maybe it could be a really strong Pokemon, and maybe who knows, maybe we'll get some stat mix-ups when Champions comes around and they'll like buff and change, possibly nerf some Pokemon. But the big reason that I think it's actually really fun to use is because it gets the ability Prankster. Prankster, as you may know, gives you an increased stage of priority for moves that don't do damage. Now, this is primarily used on Pokemon like Whimsicott and Grimmsnarl to either get like a Tailwind out to make your team faster, maybe a Light Screen Reflection to make your team more bulky, maybe even a Will-O-Wisp or something. But specifically for Banette, it is the only ghost type that actually gets Prankster, allowing it to do Prankster Curse. Curse is a very interesting move. While for normal Pokemon, it gives you a stat increase for attack and defense, I believe, and then also lowers your speed. For ghost types, upon using it, they lose 50% of their maximum HP, but it places a curse on the opposing Pokemon to cause them to lose 25% of their maximum HP. The drawback with this, if you have less than 50, it will faint your Pokemon and then apply the curse. But with Prankster, I can safely use it without having to be worried about getting knocked out and hopefully be able to tank the hit that comes after. However, if I don't want to use Curse that time, I can reliably use a different move called Roleplay to kind of soft lock the enemy. Roleplay is very simple. It replaces the ability with your own, so you just swap abilities, except it does not work with Wonder Guard or Multi-Type, which makes sense because those are kind of their own unique abilities that will really apply to your Pokemon and might make it broken. However, you may be wondering, why would I do that when I was just glazing Prankster earlier? And that is because unless your Pokemon is specifically designed to have supporting moves that are not going to do damage, then giving an enemy Prankster kind of just gets rid of their ability if it was helpful. If a Mega Kangaskhan gets sent out and I use a priority roleplay, they use Parental Bond, thus making their Mega pretty much useless, and then giving the Banette, which has 165 attack, the ability to attack twice in a row, which could pop off. Now, there are going to be some cases where this is not going to perform to the best, but I'm very much looking forward to using Banette, as it was one that I used a lot growing up, and I can't wait to use it again. Next up is Mega Sableye. Before doing research of this video, I thought it was actually decently good. I knew that it was supposed to be a defensive Mega Evolution, but I didn't realize how bad it actually was. Base form Sableye sucks. It is just the definition of a bad Pokemon. The only two things it has going for it is that it is a Dark Ghost type, meaning it is only weak to Fairy with having 3 immunities to Normal, Fighting, and Psychic. However, you know how I said previously how there's only one Ghost type with Prankster with Mega Banette? I technically lied, because Sableye does get Prankster, and that is what he is known for, primarily trying to be used competitively. However, it doesn't even get Curse, so I can't even use the same strategy that I was going to use. Now, I thought maybe I would try like a stall strategy with its Mega Evolution, and it turns out that I can't even do that because it loses Prankster upon Mega Evolving. Its Mega Evolution has the ability Magic Bounce, which bounces back all stat changes that are lowered. So if I get intimidated, I'm going to bounce back the Intimidate, which, yes, can be helpful, but comparative to a Prankstermon, it's not that good. And when I say this is one of the weirdest stat distributions of a Mega Pokemon, I mean that. Each Mega Pokemon gets a 100 base stat total increase. And for Sableye, that's not even that good, because it goes from a 380 to a 480, which is 480 is like starter level, I believe. It's not even that good. But it uses the 100 stats and cuts it in half and puts it in defense and special defense, but they don't split it even. Its normal defense is higher than its special defense, and even then, those defenses aren't that high. There are just normal Pokemon who have a higher special defense and higher defense just normally. And for some stupid reason, it loses a bunch of its speed to put in its attack and special attack when it doesn't need to do that. Sableye was never going to be an attack, so it loses 30 point in speed just so that its attack and special attack could be 85 for no reason. And I'm going to be completely honest, going in, I made the list of the 10 Pokemon without looking at anything, and now I've kind of dug myself into a hole with wanting to try and use this Pokemon. However, that being said, I'm not going to try and back down from this challenge, and I do think I have a strategy that I like. Since it does have only one weakness, I can kind of play around that and just kind of make a strategy where I can either get rid of Magic Bounce with like a skill swap item, or I could just kind of be an annoyance with it having decently relatively good bulk. I could use Recover, Will-O-Wisp, kind of stall Pokemon, but it is kind of a really awkward Pokemon to go in, and I'm going to be honest, this is one of the few Mega Pokemon where I'm really hoping they balance and change it. I genuinely think if Mega Sableye, if they changed it and made it actually a tank, like got rid of its special attack and normal attack, and just gave it Prankster instead of Magic Bouts, I actually think this could be a very sought after Mega Pokemon, but as of right now, I'm going to have to play very well and able to use this effectively. Next up is Gardevoir. Gardevoir is one of my personal favorite Pokemon, and the Mega form just takes this Pokemon above and beyond, and is our first actual Mega Pokemon where I won't have to have kind of a very unique strategy. I can just use this Mega form to its fullest extent. The base form of the Pokemon is very good, which is probably why the Mega form is good. With the other Pokemon we've been talking about, their base forms are kind of and then when they Mega Evolve, they kind of get better or kind of have awkward stuff. With Gardevoir, it is very strong specially, with its decent especially tanky and very strong specially, and even that 80 speed is nothing to scoff at. While its abilities aren't as good as its Mega ability, I could still possibly use them. I remember in Showdown running some telepathy strategies with Metagross, where telepathy allows your ally Pokemon to be able to avoid spread moves, so my Metagross is just able to click Earthquake multiple times in a row with my Gardevoir, not needing to worry about getting hit. But I'm probably not going to care too much about that, as because when I Mega Evolve, the ability gets much better, and the stats go insanely through the roof. Upon Mega Evolving, its special attack, speed, and special defense go way up, and it pretty much becomes a special tank, being able to tank hits on the special side, speed blast a lot of other Pokemon, and do insane damage with its Pixelate ability, transforming all normal type moves into Fairy, giving them a stat increase, and that also applies with the stab bonus Gardevoir gets from being a Fairy type. Plus, say something like a Calm Mind boost, it's going to be doing a lot of damage. And from the first time I actually looked at the stat, I thought it actually didn't waste any stat distributions. Unfortunately, for some reason, its normal attack stat goes from 65 to 85, so it does waste 20 points upon Mega Evolving, which I still find really weird. If it got put that into speed or even normal defense, I would have been fine, but it does not use attack, so that is 20 points wasted. But then again, Gardevoir really doesn't care all that much, because with its partner Pokemon being able to protect it from physical moves, I could just kind of click 2 moves and completely wipe the competition away, and that's what I plan to do with this Pokemon. I loved using it as a kid, and I can't wait to use it again. Next up is Mega Beedrill, one that this is the kind of goofy one that I just kind of want to use as just to have fun, maybe if I'm playing against my brother. While yes, I'm going to try and use it in Champions kind of competitively, it is that one Pokemon where it is the epitome of a glass cannon, simply because in its Mega Evolution, it just deletes all of its stat points to put it in speed and attack, and I kind of respect that. Its normal form is just, it's a Route 1 bug from Gen 1. There isn't anything to say about it. It's good for that point in the game when you're playing Generation 1, and that's about it. It has no competitive viability and nothing going for it, but when they made the Mega Evolution, they knew they needed to make this thing a powerhouse, and they 100% delivered on that. They just maxed out the sliders on its speed stat and its attack stat. They even reduced its special attack down to 15 so they could have more stats to work with. While normal Beedrill is just kind of laughably bad, this is actually pretty good. While it's not going to survive pretty much any attack you throw at it, especially from the physical side, as it only has 40's physical defense, it doesn't really care, because it's going to be able to outspeed and do insane damage, especially because because it has adaptability, meaning its stab, like poison, sting, stab, twin needle are going to be doing a lot more damage. And if this thing would get like some new bug type moves like first impression, there's no way you're going to be surviving that. And I just kind of want to speed blitz everyone and get an entire team wipe Oko just because I'm faster than the entire team. The next Pokemon is Mega Altaria, which is a very interesting Pokemon. With some of these other ones, I've used the base form of them at least a little bit. With Altaria, I have literally used it like not at all. Like maybe I collected it just to get it in like my Pokédex, but I have not used it. And for a dragon flying typing, that's pretty weird to just not use a dragon type, and it's because it's not really considered the best, but I think its mega evolution is really creative and really cool. Its base form though isn't anything special. It has moderately good defensive stats, but that's it. Cloud9 can kind of be good when you're like trying to get rid of some weather, but like that's it. And for a dragon flying type, I think that's kind of bad. With Beedrill, Beedrill is a Route 1 Gen 1 bug type, so you're kind of expecting it to be bad. The whole gimmick is that it evolves very early on, so you have a strong Pokemon for that time in the game. Well, as Altaria really doesn't have an excuse for why it's this kind of meh, but I do think its mega form fixes some problems while kind of not fully making it like the best mega form ever. Upon mega evolving, its stacks actually become pretty all even. While its speed stat isn't the highest, again 80 speed actually isn't that bad when you have really slow mega evolutions, and also while you do have a lot of fast ones, this isn't anything to scoff at. But like I said, it doesn't really fix it, because with a lot of mega evolutions, one stat is insanely high. Even with some of the ones that aren't like the best, like Mega Sableye, it still has a higher defense stats than some of these. That being said, I feel like thematically, Mega Altaria is really cool, being the only Dragon Fairy type, and it also gets Pixelate, which we already talked about with Gardevoir, is a very good ability to be able to change normal type moves. However, what is different with Mega Altaria, since its attack stat is 110 as well as special attack, it can actually be kind of a mixed attacker, and that's what I plan to use it for. I know it's not going to be like the strongest, but I'm hoping people aren't going to have coverage for a Dragon Fairy type, since this is the only Dragon Fairy type in the game, and hopefully I can get away with doing some really good mixed attacker damage. Next up is Mega Salamence, and this one is probably one you could have guessed, just because it is probably one of the best Mega Evolutions to be released. Obviously, it is a pseudo-legendary, so normal Salamence's base stat total is already going to be very good. Like every pseudo-legendary, 600 for the base stat total, except I think this is probably a really even spread. One of the best things about Salamence is you kind of can use it as a mixed attacker with its 110 special attack, and while its defenses are anything insane, they're not anything to scoff at either, and Intimidate is always going to be really good. The only thing technically bad is it doesn't really use the flying type to its advantage in its base form, but it definitely does in its mega form. Upon mega evolving, it obviously gets the thing that it's most known for, which is Aerial Late, being able to transform all normal type moves into flying type and get an extra increase plus stab, which is why Mega Salamence is so strong. And one thing I will say, while the stats are amazing, I kind of feel a little jealous towards Mega Salamence, because it's one of the few Mega Pokemon that actually uses all of the stat points it gets upon Mega Evolving really well. A lot of Mega Pokemon either change up their pre-existing stats, or they spend some of their stats when they Mega Evolve in bad places. We just talked about Mega Gardevoir, where for some reason Mega Gardevoir's attacking stat goes up by 20 points. It does not need that. You could have easily put that into even normal defense and I would have been fine with it. It just kind of feels weird that Mega Salamence is one of the few exceptions and actually uses all the stat points effectively. Next up is my second favorite Pokemon of all time, Mega Metagross. Just like Salamence, Metagross is a pseudo-legendary, so it has a 600 base stat total, and is supposed to be very tanky, and is just an amazing Pokemon with a really high attack stat, really high defense stat, and overall just really good stats around the board, and a very nice ability with just being able to negate all stat changes done to it. And if you get a stat boost with Clear Body, your enemy won't be able to lower it in any way because they can't lower any of your stats, which is very sought after when it comes down to competitive Pokemon. Upon Mega Evolving, it does lose the Clear Body ability, but Tough Claws does increase the damage of contact moves, so it is overall technically a better buff for just pure damage. And Metagross's stats are again just insane. I do think the defense stat went a little bit too high, but this thing is a wall, and unlike Mega Aggron, where it can't really do too much in terms of attacking because of how slow it is, Mega Metagross can dish out a lot of damage very quickly with its 110 speed. While there are going to be other Megas that are probably going to outspeed it, I'm probably going to be able to outspeed some of their other teammates on the team and just be a nuisance that you're going to want to try and get rid of very quick. I love this Pokemon. However, it is not the final Pokemon. There is one left in this video, and I'm guessing you can probably know what it is. I personally think this is the best Mega Pokemon ever made. The last, but certainly not least, is going to be Mega Mawile, the monstrosity of a Mega Pokemon that just is insanely strong to, like, on a degree that I don't think they'll ever make a Pokemon purposely this strong unless like it's a gimmick. Like we have Eternamax Eternatus, but we're not allowed to have that as a player. I don't think they're ever going to make a Pokemon like this again, and if they do, they're going to try and nerf it into the ground a generation later. You might be confused going to Mawile's like Dex entry stuff because it does not look like it is a good Pokemon. It has a 380 base stat total. The highest stats are just 85 on attack and defense, not anything that high at all. Like, it's going to be completely destroyed by one special move, even a decently strong physical move. And while it does have technically two things going for it with its Intimidate ability, which is always sought after in like a competitive scene with like Incineroar we've seen used, Salamence has it, Gyarados has it, but it also has the best typing of Fairy and Steel in the game, only being weak to fire and ground, and practically resisting or having immunity to everything else in the game. Now you may think, okay, sure, 100 stat points could be really good for this Pokemon, but it's not just the 100 stat points. It's the fact that Mawile has a very good move pool. It has the best typing in the game. It has a really good ability that activates before it Mega Evolves, so you can get the utility of Intimidate before you Mega Evolve it, and then when you Mega Evolve it, you get the strongest ability ever made of huge power. Looking at the stats of Mega Mawile, you can see that it is pretty strong. While its HP is still bad from its normal form, and its special attack isn't that high, and obviously speed stat, this speed stat actually isn't too bad. While you don't want a Pokemon to be too slow that it can't do anything, having a speed stat around 50 or 60 means you can use it in Trick Room, meaning it will be faster, and with its defenses being 125 and 95 for special, it can tank a lot of hits with on top of its already great defensive typing. And while its attack is only 105, that's still pretty good. Now you may be thinking, okay, that sounds okay, but doesn't look like the best. What does Huge Power do? Huge Power, if many of you may know, doubles the Pokemon's attack stat. And this is not like a thing that only applies for like a couple turns in the thing. It applies forever. So, upon a Mega Evolving, instead of getting a normal 100 stat increase, Mawile gets a 200 stat increase because its attack stat, while it says 105, is actually 210. Allowing it to practically one-shot everything that has, like, even if it has a okay physical defense, it's going to one-shot anything. If it's super effective, you're dead. And it has an insane move pool. On top of the fact that when you send it out as normal Mawile, it's going to get an Intimidate drop, meaning that your attack stat is going to be down. So if you send Mawile out on a physical attacker, it's now not going to be able even to hit Mawile because its stats got dropped, and Mawile has a 125 physical defense stat. This is one of the most strongest Pokemon they've made in my opinion, and I just want to use it and have fun and cause chaos. This was one in the top 3 most used Pokemon. Mega Salamence was used a lot as well, obviously Mega Rayquaza and then Kangaskhan, but those aren't in this video. I just absolutely adore this Pokemon, and I can't wait to use it again. I hope you all enjoyed this video. I had a blast making it. Let me know if you want to see my least favorite Mega Evolutions. I don't know if I'll be able to do like a top 10 list for the top, like the ones that I don't like, simply because there's only 50, so that would be like 2/3 of the Megas I love, and then the rest of them I hate, which I don't really want to do. So let me know if you do want to see like just a couple ones that I really am not excited to use for. But until then, stay noble. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!